Gentlemen, welcome back to the Topwater King YouTube channel. My name is Michael Gerald, also known as the Topwater King, and today we're going to be talking about 4 brand new baits from Doc's Lure Company that I'm really excited about. 2 of them are for monster fish, and 2 of them are for, well, a little bit of the smaller fish variety. So I guess we can go ahead and go small first, and we'll go ahead and talk about these 2 guys right here. So these are the little pintail, tiny little guys. I haven't really figured out a perfect name for them yet. I just kind of call them the little bitty baits. They're tiny little ice baits. I mean, a lot of people like using these type of baits for ice fishing. I'm sure you could do that. But something that a lot of people don't know you can do is I actually have been taking this bait, the small one and the big one. I'll show you guys how I've been rating it. I don't have one up here. If I did, I'd show you guys the already rigged version. But I take a little tiny hook like this. I mean, look at that. Look at how small that hook is. That is a size 10 owner swim bait hook, because these are made for 8-inch swim baits. Obviously, I mean everybody knows that, right? But these are mosquito hooks, is what I meant to say. And how you rig these is you take them and you just thread them on, kind of like you would a jig head, just like that right there. I mean, it's a pretty simple rig. I'm not going to go ahead and put the hook in that one because that's a good bait, and I'm not going to put a hook in it yet. I've already got one rigged up on my fly rod. But how you do it, like I just said, you actually put it on your fly rod. Now I know it seems really crazy to a lot of you guys, and you can actually do it with smaller hooks, and smaller hooks would actually be better for this rig. I've been looking for some tiny, like ultra super tiny hooks. I have a size 15 somewhere. I don't know where it is though, but I have a tiny little size 15 hook. And I think that would be awesome. But what you can do is if you have a smaller hook, you can take these and use them as sort of like a dry fly. And what it does is there's 2 sizes. There's 1.1 and the 1.3. And the 1.3 is a little bit easier to fish with the with the size 10 hook. With the little 1.1, I think that something like a size 15 or maybe a size 12 or something like that hook would be a little bit better. But what you can do is you can actually use them as a dry fly, and they'll sit on the surface, and this little tail, our little tail right there, just sits there and kind of moves like that. Even when you're not even moving the bait, it just sits there and kind of wags back and forth, and it's a really cool action. It kind of looks like a dead minnow just trying to survive, trying to move a little bit, and it's really, really cool. I tried it with the 1.3 on my fly rod, and it really looks good. And then if you use a little bit bigger hook, like I said, the size 10 is just a little bit too big, but it's still, small enough to use. You can actually cast it out and it'll sink a little ways, and it'll kind of just suspend in the middle. It won't fall all the way to the bottom, and it looks really, really good. I can't wait for this spring, fishing on the bluegill beds. I think that's going to be so much fun throwing this little 1.1 and the 1.3. So something new about this one right here is there's 2 different size orders you can make. Obviously there's 2 of these sizes, but there's a little bit of a difference than with these than there is with the other baits. You can order 2 different amounts per pack, so $4 for 40 baits or $2 for 20 baits. Now, obviously, there's a lot of baits in each pack. 40 baits is a lot of baits, and you can get the 40 pack in the 1.3 or the 1.1. And these are tiny baits. These are some stuff that you can catch a lot of bluegill, panfish, crappie. It's hard to say what you could catch this on this bait. I'm sure you could probably catch a lot of bass with it. Go into a small pond with some teeny tiny jig heads. These here are about the smallest jig heads I could find, and they only really fit the 1.3, and they barely fit the 1.3. But something like that, just kind of slow casting them out and just kind of reeling it in real slow, where you can jig it up and down with a small cork or something. Tell you what, it's going to be a killer bait, and they're awesome. Like I said, $2 per pack for 20 or $4 per pack for 40. So keep that in mind when you're looking for some panfish baits, because these things are awesome. And they're so small that honestly you can hardly find jig heads that fit them. The best way to use them, in my opinion, is with a small weightless hook, because they slow fall real slow, or they just sit on the surface. But you can also take these tiny little jig heads and they'll work. So the next 2 baits are on the completely other end of the world compared to these little tiny 1.1 and 1.3 panfish getters. These things are giant. They are huge compared to most other baits. So we're going to go with the longest one first. The longest one is this guy right here. This is the 13-inch Monster Magnet Worm. So I think if I remember correctly, I fished this a little bit in the video I posted over on the Coast to Coast Outdoor channel. I don't really remember. I know I posted this on, I know I mentioned this a few days ago in a video here on this channel, but this is the 13-inch giant mega monster magnet worm. This is huge. I mean, this is a giant bait. And what I love about this bait is if you guys see here on the head, there is sections that you can actually make the bait a little bit smaller. Let's say you're on a big fish bite and you catch a bunch of fish, and the end of your bait gets torn up a little bit. Over time, that'll happen. Usually they last 10, 15 fish sometimes. But usually that'll happen eventually. And when it happens, all you have to do is come down right here, cut it off, and it makes a 11-inch worm. Then you cut it off. Actually, I think this is like 11 3/4 inch worm. Then you cut it off here, it's about 10 3/4. Cut it off here, it's about 9 3/4, and you can even do it past that. You can cut it down these little nubbins down here. I mean, heck, I'm sure you could probably just cut it off right here and make you a little jig worm for like walleye and stuff like that. It doesn't really matter. But this thing has incredible action. With these ribs down the side right here, it makes an awesome snaking action. I really am looking forward to fishing this weightless with like a 6/0 worm hook, just slowly kind of twitching it through the surface. And I think that'll be really good, looking like a snake, looking like a big 13-inch snake. It'll also it'll be a good competitor against the 12-inch buzzing snake kind of a bait, 12-inch Wrangler worm. I'm going to use that as a buzzing snake a lot this year, but this one here is kind of more of like a twitch snake. So I'm pretty excited about this. This color here is root beer. The little 1.3 and the 1.1 are in green pumpkin, if I did not tell you that. This here's root beer. Really good natural color. I like that color a lot. The next bait, my neck's hurting a lot today, so I popped it. Sorry about that. But anyway, this bait right here is a bait that I did fish in my Coast to Coast Outdoor video that I posted yesterday. Now, there will be another video up on that channel today as well. After you guys watch this, go check out that video. Or if you're coming from that video, go check out this video. So yeah, that didn't make sense, does it? I don't know. I don't care. This bait is huge. This is a giant bait. Now, I'll post a picture up here real quick right now. And you guys will see this bait next to a normal everyday size pop can, and this thing is absolutely huge. Now I don't know if the size will actually transfer over on the camera on the video, but just look at this picture of it next to the pop can. It's on top of the pop can, and it's longer than the pop can. It is huge. This is a giant crawfish. So y'all down in Texas and Florida and places like that have been needing a big kicking tail crawfish, well, ladies and gentlemen, Doc's Lure Company has heeded your call for a giant crawfish flipping style bait. Here it is. This is a giant crawfish. Now, this is the Mega Mud Crawler. Now, here's the original Mud Crawler. Normal size. There is the Mega Mud Crawler. It is huge difference. Like, I'm talking giant difference. And the crawl kicking action on this bait is absolutely insane. It has a ton of action, probably one of the most biggest, back and forth action out of any crawl I've ever used for sure. It's just got a huge amount of action. It's great for a jig trailer. I actually have one on my jig over there. It is a huge combination. It's like a 2-ounce setup. It's a 1-ounce jig with one of these giant baits on it. And you can even use these weightless, buzzing them across the surface for a giant profile. You can use them on a Texas rig. Now, I do have to say, you have to get a little bit of a bigger hook for this bait because of how thick it is. It's almost ½ an inch thick. I think it's just a little over ½ an inch thick, believe it or not. The hooks that I had to use for it were 6/0 swim bait hooks, weightless swim bait hooks. I don't know if I have some in here or not. I'll show, yeah, I do right there. I think this is actually, yeah, this is the one I had on it yesterday when I was fishing. Show you guys this hook. This is the hook I have to use with it because I don't have any other bigger hooks. This is a giant 6/0 swim bait hook made by Owner. This is the only hook I have that actually fits that bait. Believe it or not, it is so big. But if you're looking for some big fish, if you're looking for that big kicker bass during a tournament, or if you're trying to catch a big kicker fish just in general, just trying to catch a big fish, and you love throwing a jig or a crawl or whatever, I make them in a bunch of different colors. I make them in black and blue. This color here is called Summer Crawl. It's got the green pumpkin back and claws and the little bit of chartreuse on the belly. I love that color. I think it's going to be a great color. I make them in just plain colors like green pumpkin or black, root beer. I make them in a bunch of other colors as well. The Summer Crawl is one I'm really excited about. The black and blue is also one I'm thinking is going to be a pretty cool bait. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to purchase any of the baits, let me know down in the comments down below. And thanks for watching. There's also an email in the description. So once again, thanks.